The DOJ, what's going on with the DOJ labeling
Yeah.
New York an anarchist? What is it?
In anarchist state, anarchist. Well, it's a way for them. It's a loophole for them to basically arrest people and round them up.
I got news for you. New York, not an anarchist state. Well, I mean,
Jurisdiction.
some anarchists here.
I didn't know the machine was dead in New York.
There are three cities that the DOJ, apparently in the White House, has New York City, Portland, and Seattle are on the list of anarchist cities. That Trump administration have failed to stem crime over the summer. And it means that they can be denied federal funding because it is, according to Bill Barr, a waste of funds. We are in New York, a anarchist jurisdiction. And that's where we're at now. I don't know what else that means, but this is the DOJ.
Yeah.
I mean, this is nuts. This is absolutely insane. But getting back to the Supreme Court, here is Ainsley Earhart. And this is what they're going to do. This is why Amy Coney Barrett works so well for them. Because she is an incredible right-wing judge. I mean, I don't, like back to the Stone Ages. And we'll talk more about her tomorrow. Get some time. We'll do some news. We'll do a deep dive into her. But she is also arguably a theocrat. But here is Ainsley Earhart upset. And here's the line that we're going to hear. Democrats are attacking Amy Coney Barrett because she's Christian.
McCain was on The View yesterday, and she was talking about how Kavanaugh really changed Republicans like herself, said accusations were completely baseless, and it showed that the Democrats on their side will do anything and everything to smear any conservative. There seems to be real bias against the women. The woman who has 7 children is a Catholic, and we're seeing it, and I just don't want her to be Kavanaugh'd because I don't think it's fair. If she is President Trump's choice, she has 7 children, adopted 2 from Haiti, 1 has special needs. How do the Democrats handle this? Will they attack her? They're already attacking her for her Catholic faith. My question is to them, what if it were a Democrat, a woman who's a Democrat from a different faith? Why is it okay to attack if you're a Christian, but not, they would never touch another faith? And what does this look like down the road?
It's not okay, Ainsley, and Democrats love attacking conservative women. That's something that Meghan McCain has experienced. It's something that I've have experienced. So Democrats have to be very careful. They should not run into these smearing politics the way they did with Brett Kavanaugh. And I think that Meghan McCain is spot on saying that watching the politicization of the Brett Kavanaugh hearings and just the baseless accusations, that really backfired, and voters across this country woke up, particularly women voters, as they are excited to see these women's names be put forth. This is the highest court in the land. These are extraordinarily accomplished women, wonderful mothers, and Democrats should not smear their character. They should address, again, follow the Constitution and play the advise and consent role rather than the politicization.
Oh, my God.
Well, first off, the Kavanaugh hearings were when? 2017, was it?
Yeah.
It was actually 2018.
2018, right before the midterms.
Summer of 2018, right before the midterms. Correct me if I am wrong. The Democrats had a record-breaking win in 2018. There was more votes cast for Democrats and a higher percentage than in any off-year election in the modern era. They would have taken far more seats if it weren't for gerrymandering. But in terms of sheer votes, they did better than at any. It was a record-breaking, I think, in our lifetime. So Kavanaugh did not really impact the polls per se. I'm not convinced that,
right.
And this was what here. I'm sorry, I can't read what that said.
Never mind.
But I don't know if going after Amy Coney Barrett or if it's a Lagoa or whomever it ends up being, makes sense only because at the end of the day, there's not much they can do about it. And Lindsey Graham is already out there saying, we already got the votes. Doesn't even matter who the candidate is. Doesn't even matter who the nominee is.
Well, that's ultimately, first off, Biden should be talking about the pandemic, fascism. And that's it. Maybe that's what steers Republicans back to his court, at least Republican voters, right? Not Republican, the big names. But we don't have time. First off, they're making this assumption that we're already attacking them, which is a very Fox News thing to do. The Democrats are saying this when, meanwhile, the Democrats are trying to figure out what's going on and trying to figure out what power and leverage they have. And it's like we haven't even moved on to that point of potential attacks. There aren't going to be these. We're not going to have these endless hearings. It's not going to be people showing up on the streets. Unfortunately, if they should show up, it should be at Mitch McConnell's doorstep or some of these potential swing votes, which is not going to happen. But they need to feel the pressure points need to be pushed. And right now, I think this is a great education moment for the movement. I think it's a wake-up call to the Biden campaign and neoliberals, just how dangerous they've been playing this election. But for the movement to be much more strategic. Well, the problem, too, is that, and I guess they can do this with the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act, it's either going to be 4-4 or it could be 5-4. It could even be 6-3. And what it will do is, in this case, they'll send it back down. The circuit court is still waiting for the district court to re-examine the severability question, I think. So it's more than likely the Affordable Care Act is DOA. If Trump wins. You could also argue that it's gone eventually under a 6-3 Supreme Court, a conservative court going forward. The problem is that Biden's plan is to build on the ACA. Yep.
So you are not set up. You're set up to say, okay, we are going to have to address a woman's right to choose. And we're going to have to do it with legislation because there are going to be 25 states in the country where the state is going to be able to outlaw because we're going to have to make a federal statute. And who knows whether that would withstand a Supreme Court challenging, this federal law. But that's what it's going to have to be. So you talk about abortion rights. I'm talking about motivating Democratic voters. You got to talk about health care, but the problem is you have your entire campaign is built around promoting a health care plan that is a supplement to something that is pre-existing, and the entire thing could very well go away. And so you've basically got to lay out a much broader plan, which, the reality is, I don't know. You could introduce Medicare for all, and it's quite conceivable that the Supreme Court says, nope, can't do it.
Well, how would it go to the Supreme Court? First it would, that's 3-4 years down the line. That's saying it's the ACA is struck down, simultaneous Medicare for all is passed, and then Republicans decide to take it to the courts. That would happen in like 3 or 4 years. And who knows?
It would take, but how long would it take to implement a Medicare for all?
True.
It would take a long time. I guess,
well, how long did it take with ACA? 2 years?
It rolled it out 4 years later. We passed it in 2010 and they rolled out 2014. A lot of people thought it should have happened quicker, but Medicare for all would probably be a little bit more difficult because this isn't just like
a little bit.
This is a radically different plan. But you could maybe get there in 2 years, but nevertheless, there would be some states would sue,
exactly.
And some in the insurance company would sue, and there's who knows the grounds on which the Supreme Court could strike it down. But people thought it was impossible to strike down the expansion of Medicare. Of Medicaid. So there's, I'm sure they have strategies, but at the very least, from a rhetorical standpoint, anyways, because I do think, look, that it's also possible the Democrats get in, if they were to strike down ambitious policies, the Democrats would be in a tougher position in terms of having to pack the courts or reform the courts in some way. And there are statutory things that you can do to reform the courts and limit their jurisdiction, I think, in some ways. But we'll get into that in the future. But the bottom line is, from a political standpoint, it is a liability that Biden has been sort of relying on the idea that even Republicans don't like Donald Trump, when the signature thing that Donald Trump has done, which is appoint justices and judges to the federal judiciary, some of your key Republicans are supporting it, particularly with the Supreme Court. I mean, we had Democrats, we had, 18 Democrats support the latest round of federal judges who've come up. Now, I know their votes, they're just hiding, essentially. I mean, I'm sure some of them are excited about it. They're just hiding because they know their votes can't stop these judges. And they're like, well, I don't need the controversy of voting against a judge in this race. But I mean, that makes it harder to use this as an issue to motivate people.
Right. Right. And obviously look at the results. I mean, we were just mentioning Pennsylvania. The judge struck down stricter COVID guidelines. And thanks, Manchin and Sinema.